Mike Owens here. Today I'm joined by Arnold Allen, who on the 15th of April returns to action in the biggest fight of his career, facing Max Holloway in Kansas City. Arnold, great to sit down and chat. How are things with you today?
All good, man. All good. Thanks for having me on. How you doing?
The pleasure's all mine, mate. It's always good to get a chat in with Arnold Allen. First couple of weeks of camp, how have things been so far?
Yeah, good. It's 8 weeks. It's about 8 weeks, so it's like the first week of camp. Things going good. Just been back sparring at Renegade and sparring with Jai Herbert, who's obviously fighting in London. He's looking sharp. It's always funny when you sort of join the camp like halfway through someone's camp because they're always a bit ahead of you. They're sharper, so yeah. No, it's good. They're a good bunch.
Well, of course, when I think about it, the likes of Renegade and maybe some of your other training partners might be preparing for fights in March, and obviously with the UFC London card, that's got to be a benefit to have all of those guys peaking as you're coming into the early stages of camp because they're going to be pushing you as hard as anyone.
Yeah, definitely. And I've been part of champions camps a few times in my career, and I started like George St. Pierre when he fought Bisbee. I was not part of his camp. Obviously, I'm nothing like Bisbee, but I was in the gym training at the time, and just everything goes up. Everything, the levels go up. There's more people on the mats. More cameras, so there's more of a buzz around the gym. And same thing for Leon's fight against Usman. Being in the gym for the first one when he got the knockout the last time round, the buzz was just, everyone was on the up. Everyone was so excited for the big opportunity. And now he's the champion and he's defending it on home turf. It's the same vibe there. So it's good to be around when that's what's going on.
Well, of course, when you mentioned home turf, they're a little bit different for yourself. As I mentioned, your fight will be taking place in over in the States. I know there was a little bit of disappointment that you voiced on Twitter about the original matchup for London. How does it feel now to have the fight that you've wanted, regardless of location, just to get the Max Holloway fight?
Yeah, it's very rarely as like an elite athlete you get to compete against like one of the guys that people regard as one of the best of all time at your weight or whatever, or pound for pound number one, all this. It's very rarely you get the chance to prove yourself against someone like that. And as a professional athlete, that's the whole goal, right? To prove ourselves against the best guys there is, to prove we deserve to be amongst those guys. There's a lot of guys that work their asses off and they're very good, and everyone in the gym knows how good they are, but they never get the opportunity to show it. So it's yeah, it's obviously it's not the title fight, it's not the champion, but it's a good feeling to be getting that opportunity to show what I'm capable of against someone like Max Holloway.
You've talked a lot in other interviews, and you just mentioned it there about obviously Max's pedigree, Max's history in the division. In
Mhm.
some ways, is this almost a bigger fight than the Volkanovski fight? If you took them as two individuals and took the title out, is this a bigger fight in some ways?
Uh, yeah. I know what you mean in some ways, yeah. But for me, obviously, without the title, no. But
Mm.
when you look at what he's done and the credit he gets from everyone and how highly touted he is, and I'm sure he's going to be a future Hall of Famer and all that. So, yeah, for sure. But Volkanovski's looking great, and I thought he looked great against Islam. So it's yeah, it's hard to say. Volkanovski's sort of carving his own path at the minute
Yeah.
and doing the next step, next level.
Of course. Max is a bit of a strange opponent in many ways, I think, because he's got a very quite easy on the ice style to dissect. But I imagine from your perspective, there's a lot of complexities at what is going on in his game. So can you kind of give me your scout report on Max? What does he do well? What makes him so great?
Yeah, just tough as fuck. He's you know what? He doesn't get tired. He doesn't slow down. He throws like I don't know, 100 punches around or something crazy. He's always whether he's throwing big power shots, he's always throwing stuff here. But no, I think the main thing with him, he seems like a really nice guy.
Mm.
But when he fights, he's an absolute asshole. Like he's pointing at you, he's mocking you, he's hitting with shot, he's chatting shit, and yeah. So it's that gamesmanship. That's the thing that is the biggest factor I think for him, not necessarily the skill sets he brings. Like obviously the tools he's got are very good, but that's not the thing. I think that's not what you have to prepare for. It's the rest of the stuff.
Mm. I don't think when I think back in your career, you fought many people with the gamesmanship that you mentioned of Max. Now
Yeah,
you can
no.
only probably know in when you get in the cage how you'll react, but do you anticipate that you'll lean into it, or do you anticipate that you'll just be stuck with Arnold Allen and we'll get on with your work?
Yeah, yeah. He'll probably just think of a bit Suffolk simple or something like that, and not understand why I'm not reading anything. Nah, that's it. Just cool, calm, collected. Whatever. I got pretty thick skin, so I don't really care.
Mm.
But yeah, nah, it's gonna be good.
Of course. Look, you mentioned there as well about Max's durability, calling him tough as fuck, which no one could disagree with.
Mm,
When you're fighting somebody who has only ever lost when they've gone to the scorecards, do you
mm.
change your style, or do you look and go, fuck this, I'm gonna still try and get him out of there?
The goal, whoever it is, the goal is always to get him out of there. I haven't got the highest finishing rate in the UFC and all that, but you know, he's been hit a lot, and I know the power I've got in my hands, and anyone I've trained with, anyone I've sparred with knows that I've got power, and yeah, I believe I got that capability to do that and put anyone out in the division. But you know, you have to be prepared to go 5 rounds with someone like this, and
Mm.
I've fought some very tough guys in the past and hit him with some good shots and gone, probably just take the power out a little bit. And like Gilbert Melendez, he was quite hittable in our fight, but I realized I weren't hurting him to the head. So okay, I just sort of pepper him to the body and keep picking him apart a little bit and be sharp and accurate.
100%. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about Max's potential after the coming off the title fight, the third fight against Volkanovski. There's been a lot of talk in the media if maybe Max has lost a step in many ways. Now, you'll tell me if I ask you this question plainly that you're preparing for the best, Max Holloway, and of
Of course.
course you are. But is there any validity in that when you watch the tape? Do you see Max has lost a step, or is that just an anomaly because of the third fight?
Yeah, I just think it's the third fight. Volkanovski's just his whole every time he fights, he looks better. He looks better, better, better. He fought. He's the kind of guy. If you fight him 3 times, he's going to figure you out by the third. So, however you scored the first, second with Max, the third one, it was just a runaway. He just figured him out. Simple stuff, and came in more prepared. Came in with a better strategy, and made him look very basic. But yeah, I think that's more of a credit to Volkanovski than to Holloway falling apart.
100%. Obviously, we've got the UFC London pay-per-view next month. I know, as we talked a little bit earlier, you will obviously have some disappointment at not being on that card. But
Hmm.
given the 5 rounds, given the main event, and given the opponent that you've now got, do you almost feel like you've been rewarded for having to miss out on the London card and get everything you want next month?
Yeah, yeah. It's always, it's nice to headline. It's our second time headlining now, so it's co-main events are cool. But when you sort of main event in a show and getting to travel the world and all that, that is all cool. So it's a good silver lining.
Look, there's been a lot of hype about this fight. I saw when you posted the UFC post that it got 4,000 likes, something like that. Lot of news on the UFC site and all of that. There's a lot of buzz for this fight, specifically
Yeah.
the pairing with you and Max. Do you almost feel like you're getting the love, a little bit more of the love that you deserve now? Because there's a lot of anticipation when Arnold Allen fights.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely since the Sadiq Yusuf fight, it kind of like definitely picked up, and I think maybe just where I was in a co-main spot, maybe it was where everyone sort of highly rated that guy, and rightfully so, he's very good. But and then obviously the Dan Hooker performance and things just sort of coming together. People realizing I'm actually quite all right. I'm not that bad. I'm not some shitter.
Well, you seem to be doing a lot more media at the moment. I saw you were on Luke Thomas's show a couple of days ago. You're obviously on Ariel's show quite a bit. Are you enjoying the spotlight a little bit more these days?
Yeah, it's nice to do a bit more in it. I don't know. I post a bit more on social media because I think that was one of the reasons I was sort of maybe between fights sort of getting forgotten about because I just go off the grid and I'm just like, don't really say anything for a bit. But yeah, so it's part of the job, isn't it? You got to be on there and remind people you exist. Like like in a way, like you don't have to take yourself too serious and post that. More of American kind of style where you just have something, post something as a laugh, and people realize you got more character than just a dry wall. So yeah,
It's an interesting point you mentioned because it is almost become a part of fighters' jobs in many ways. Like you think about, say, Dan Hardy, Paul Daly, like the legends of even Bisping, the legends of British MMA. They didn't
yeah,
have to worry about an Instagram page or getting followers to get the right fight. It was just you know, it was more simple back then. It's interesting that it's become a part of your lives in many ways.
Yeah, I think every other fighter has a YouTube channel now, and you know, with that, without having to have sponsors on our shorts and whatnot, so it's another avenue to show, you know, for a company wanting to support us, something, a platform we have that we can advertise your sponsors on. So yeah, that's probably one of the reasons. But yeah, you know, I suppose there's not many guys in boxing running their own YouTube account.
No, of course, yeah, I never thought about that. Obviously, the fights in Kansas City, a little bit of a strange place. It doesn't seem like
Yeah.
a mecca of combat sports.
Yeah.
Any interactions with Kansas City? What do you know about the place? Have you been there before?
I know they just won the Super Bowl. That's all I know. But yeah, it was weird because they sent when they sent the contract over, or when they sent the request, you know, will you fight Max this day?
Mm.
It was somewhere in Malaysia, I think it was. They just sent an arena name, and I was like, huh, yeah, okay, that sounds cool. And then they announced it like 2 weeks later. I woke up in the morning, Kansas City. I was like, that's not in fucking Malaysia. But yeah, so it is what it is. So, all good.
What was your first reaction when you got the contract through for Max?
Um, they offered it, so they initially offered it for London, but I had a little injury over Christmas that sort of set us back a few weeks. And you know, when you turn down a big opportunity like that, you it's sort of, as part of you, feels like you're gonna get passed up. You're gonna
Mm.
end up back down the line and fighting someone, you know, not of the caliber of Holloway. And yeah, they offered it for about a month later. I was yeah, pretty happy. I was pretty happy, to be fair, because it's what I asked for, it's what I wanted. And other than, you know, they announced the interim title, and when that was announced, Max Holloway for me was the guy that was like, that's the guy you need to beat. You know,
Yeah.
he just beat Yair Rodriguez before. You know, I don't feel like you could be the featherweight champion without getting past him. So he's the guy to beat.
And with that being said, the fact that it was rebooked for the next month, it says a lot about what the UFC want from this fight, because I'm looking at it from a neutral perspective. They either want it's either a get busy, it's either a get back on the horse for Max and build him back up to wherever they want to take him, but it's
Yeah,
also give you the massive opportunity to take Max's scalp. And we all know what a win over Max Holloway would do for you. So in many ways, it's also quite a big message from the UFC of how much faith they have in you to
yeah,
get to that title shot.
yeah. That's it. And I'm you know, I'm pretty sure they ain't too keen for Volk Holloway 4, you know. So
Mm.
so yeah, so that's you know, that's the plan, to go capitalize on the opportunity given and sort of state my claim on that title and try and get in there, you know.
Of course. Well, last week we saw the champion in action, albeit upper weight class against Islam
Mm.
Makhachev. What did you make of the fight at
Yeah,
284?
I thought he looked great. I thought he you know, I thought he did a really good job. I watched it a couple of times. I scored it for Volkanovski both times, but you know, it is a controversial thing at the minute. But I got called a racist for supporting Volkanovski. You know, even though I'm a fan of both of them, but whatever. Yeah, I just I thought he got a decision. I wouldn't say a robbery, but you know, it was a good fight. He did a good job, a lot better than everyone, including myself, thought. You know.
Do you think the weight was a factor, or do you think it was more skill for skill that got Makhachev the victory?
Uh Nah, that's the surprising thing. I thought the weight was going to be a big factor, but he cancelled it out every time they're in an exchange. He just, you know, he did the right things, got up, used his, like he said, he used his size, being smaller, shorter. He was able to get his hips under him, get up. Yeah, like I said, I thought he did enough to get a win there.
No, 100%. Very, very much a close fight. You mentioned there
Mm.
about the hate online. Now, whenever I interview a fighter who's got a Russian opponent or a Eastern European opponent, I
Yeah.
get the same hate. Do you get the
Oh,
same when you know say anything anti Eastern European fighters at all?
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, sometimes. Well, that was the only time I think I've ever said it. Wasn't even Annie. I literally just said, "Oh, I thought Volkanovski won that," and oh, I got bombarded, and people called me racist. They said if he wasn't Muslim, you know, this you'd say the other. I was like, my coach is Faraz Zahabi. Like, what are you talking about, man? Like, those guys' family. Like, what are you on about? But yeah, you know, whatever. They're just trolls on the internet.
No,
What can you do?
100%. 100%, mate. Co-main event, Yair Rodriguez. Obviously, we've got to talk about that fight. Gets the interim strap over Josh Emmett. Probably a fight that maybe you should have been in there against either Emmett or Rodriguez, but different story for a different day. But what did you make
Yeah.
of Yair's submission?
He looked great. Everything but the submission. I didn't expect the submission. I expected the distance control, like the kicks at range, elbows and knees up close. I thought he would just have too many options for Emmett. Emmett's he's quite limited. You know, he has a lot of power, but he doesn't have a massive way to cover the distance. Big power up close. You know, he throws overhands, drops his head to throw them. So I thought he was going to get kneed and elbowed at close range, and then head kicked, long range teeps, all that sort of stuff at range. Kind of exactly as I thought, to be honest. But I didn't anticipate a submission though.
No, 100%. Volk's obviously still pound for pound #1, but how great of a shot do you give Yair to pull off the upset when in their unification?
I wouldn't favour him, but like he's like I don't know, he's like a grenade, like if you wrestle him, he's got something anyway. You hold on to him, he's like throwing elbows, he's got good submissions, like he's very, very explosive with his hips. He's sitting his guard, he's elbowing you, he's throwing triangles up. And you stand in front of him, there's always a chance there's a knee, elbow at any point of the round, obviously with Korean Zombie, the last second there was a better knockouts you'll see. So yeah, it's like I wouldn't want to bet against him, but it's hard to bet against Volkers. But you know what I mean.
No, of course.
It's a good fight. He's knowing Volkanovski will probably outwork him and shut him down and cancel him out. But you're not going to not get marked up against him. You're not going to not get hit. You hold on to him somewhere. He's elbowing you. He's I don't know, doing that weird thing where people used to like hit you with their heel and the calves and stuff like that.
The heel.
Yeah, he's doing all sorts. So so he's throwing shots from anywhere. That'd be a good fight though.
From your perspective, who would you? Because obviously you get the win against Max in April. I think it's pretty clear you're next for the winner of Volk and Rodriguez. From your perspective, who's the better style matchup for you?
I think Volk. Yeah, I that sort of short, stocky sort of guy. I think that suits pretty well, But I'd be interested to see what happens because I don't know. Is he going to get a rematch with Islam? If he does, I feel like he deserves it. It was such a close decision. They should be. Then what happens with the featherweight title there? I don't know. So it's going to be an interesting sort of couple of months, few weeks maybe.
No, 100%. Well, in many ways, as you know, we've had a couple of conversations, and I always like to finish by asking you your goals for the next 12 months. But in many ways, I feel like your 2023 is set out in a perfect world. You get the win against Max on the April the 15th, and then it's right into the winner of Volk or Yair, or failing at that unification, the vacant belt or whatever it may be. Is your 2023 sewn up on paper?
Yeah, I mean that's the goal, to get that title fight and get the belt. That's there's I feel like I'm there, I'm ready for it. That's what I want to do this year. So there's no, like you say, beating Max Holloway. There's no backward steps after that, right? So yeah, that's the plan.
Well, outside the fight, and what other goals have you got outside the cage for the rest of the year? If you got houses, kids, dogs, anything like that you want to accomplish in the rest of 2023?
Just trying to sell some more t-shirts. That's all. So I have to stop editing on celebrities and whatnot. I mean, stop finding pictures of them wearing them.
Brilliant. Well, look, it's always great to get some of your time, mate. It really is. I'm really happy to see you in this position to get the fight that I know you wanted for so long. So thank you for your time. And if we don't speak before, best of luck for April.
Nice one, mate. Cheers.
Before we finish, Arnold, how can people find you on social media? Any sponsors you'd like to plug? The floor is yours for the last word.
It's just Arnold BFA everywhere, and don't ask what it means. That's it.
Make sure to subscribe to the LowKickMMA YouTube channel for all the latest news, event previews, and interviews with some of the biggest stars in MMA.